When we got our 36-inch Blackstone Griddle last year, we were stoked. We got it seasoned, fired up, and used it all the time. But all good things must come to an end. Not looking too good. Hey there, welcome back. In today's video, we've got our Blackstone Griddle, and as you can see, we did a really bad job this past winter keeping this protected, and now we are left with rust everywhere. So we're gonna go ahead, get this cleaned up. I'll show you some tips and tricks on how to get this ready for use again. We've only had this Blackstone for 1 year, and I'm not gonna lie, I was worried that this thing was ruined. What used to be a freshly seasoned griddle top is now just full of rust. Fortunately, to restore the Blackstone really doesn't require much in terms of specialty products or tools. We'll start with some Dawn dish soap just to break everything down and get a nicer clean surface so that we can then use our white distilled vinegar to help actually remove the rust. And then we'll reseason with some oil to get it ready for cooking. Then over here on this side, we've got a few pieces of equipment that we'll be using to mechanically clean the surface. I've got a cleaning block, scrub brush, metal scraper, and then just a container to pour our different cleaning agents into, along with some paper towel. So first thing first, I am going to go ahead and clean the surface off with some of our Dawn dish soap. This is a really good degreaser. Normally we wouldn't use this on a griddle like this unless we were going to be planning to reseason, which in our case we are. And then with my scrubbing pad, I am just going to go ahead and gently scrub the surface. And during this process, I found I really didn't have to apply a ton of elbow grease. And the goal here is really just to loosen up any of the surface contamination. Some of it is obviously going to be the rust. Other stuff is going to be the grease and any remaining food particles. And it really only took a couple minutes of light scrubbing to really see that water turn a rusty brown, showing that we are definitely loosening things up. And although this is pretty optional, I did even do the outer edges just to try and make things look a little bit cleaner so that we weren't staring at rust every time we used our Blackstone. All right, so we have done an initial scrub down with just some dish soap, and it really looks like we've loosened up a lot of the rust. I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit of a rinse off with some water. We'll see how it looks. Using just some basic tap water, I went ahead and just poured it on here, rinsed off the dish soap and all of that rusty water. And our Blackstone has a little drain opening in the back side of it, so I used our scrubber just to kind of help direct that dirty water into the grease pan. I ended up doing another couple of rinses on this top, repeating the same process, and each time I could see the surface becoming more and more clear. The rust was definitely fading away. Next, we're just going to use our metal scraper just to dislodge any remaining rust that may be present on the surface. And I'm going pretty light as I'm scraping, again, just trying to knock down the high spots. This will help us prep for the next step and also make the surface a bit nicer when we go to season it. So I think it's starting to look a little better. Obviously, got a ways to go. And one common misconception when it comes to these Blackstone griddles is that you'd think they're not prone to rust. It's steel, but this is cold rolled steel, makes it really good uniform surface to cook on, but it is not immune to rust. Next up, we are gonna be using a vinegar mixture. So I'm gonna start with some water, and then we'll put an equal part of vinegar in here. This is just white distilled vinegar. So it's gonna be about a half a cup of water, half a cup of vinegar. And what this will do is hopefully help break down some of the remaining rust that we have on the surface here. And some paper towel to kind of spread it around, make sure we're contacting all the rust that we want to work through. now we're just gonna let it sit for a few minutes, let it continue eating away at that rust. And it is a dirty job, getting it all over myself, on my clothes, so just something to be cautious of as you are working through cleaning your griddle. All right, now we're gonna use our grill stone. Still have the vinegar on here, but we're gonna use this to hopefully help continue to loosen everything up. And this was the first time I've used a griddle stone like this. Again, we've only had the Blackstone for a year, but I was impressed with the way this worked. It definitely wore that sanding block down. Our particular kit, which I'll link in the description below, had 4 of these sanding blocks, and I went through every single one of them. And I found that I could get even more life out of them if I removed them from the plastic handle and just simply held the sanding block by hand. I could really get quite a bit more use out of it. And similar to the other scrubbing, I really didn't have to use a lot of pressure to make this thing work. Just gentle scrubbing did the trick. After getting a nice sludge built up on the surface, I went ahead and did a rinse, followed by a bit more scraping. And as I'm doing this, I smell rust everywhere. So we are really breaking this down, getting that off there. This is looking a ton better than it did to start with. We've still got some more scrubbing that we'll be doing, probably using a little more vinegar on some of these surfaces, but I'm feeling a lot better about how this is looking than I did a few minutes ago. And I really tried to take quite a bit of time. I didn't want to rush this process. I could definitely see improvement every swipe of that sanding block. And it was pretty satisfying just to see kind of this metallic liquid form during the process. Here's a closer look at the resulting sludge by using those sanding blocks on top of the Blackstone. It's almost like a rusty paste. And I ended up just directing that sludge into the drain, did some more rinsing, and really just tried to clean things up. After going through several rounds of vinegar and sanding blocks, I could definitely start seeing more and more of that silvery steel being exposed. And that truly is a good sign. When the surface starts to look raw like that, it means you're getting closer to being ready to reseason it. And we can see that I still had some darker areas, maybe some remnants of past seasoning, and that's okay. We'll reseason on top of that. The important thing is to get rid of any of the loose material, the rust, the grease that may have been on there previously. After going through all 4 of my sanding blocks, I ended up doing a final rinse with the hose, really just kind of applying some water pressure to give it a nice clean surface, get rid of any vinegar or Dawn dish soap that may have been remaining. And I just took a dry cloth and wiped it down. All right, so we got rid of the rust off of our griddle. We are ready to get it seasoned. And if you want to see how I season a Blackstone griddle, you can check out the video linked in the description below. After getting the surface all prepped, the griddle top was as easy to season as it was brand new out of the box. Back in action, rust is gone, griddle is reseasoned, and we are cooking. And just real quick, I definitely don't want to deal with this again, so I will be using my cover pretty much regularly, especially when any sort of precipitation is expected. But one other thing to note is, even though we have a cover, it is important to clear the water off of it periodically. And it's because sometimes water can still make its way through the cover and then pretty much become entrapped sitting right on the griddle top. And it really doesn't take more than a day or 2 for rust to start forming. But fortunately, if you catch it soon enough, you can take care of the little bit of surface rust with a little bit of scrubbing and some reseasoning. Hopefully you found this content useful. If so, please consider liking and subscribing for more tips and tricks around the house.